everybody, this is Bill Kenney and I'm with Test My Pitch, and I want to welcome you today while we share some top tips for effective communication. Let me introduce my two partners in this video. First, let me introduce Laurie Schloff, who is a senior coaching partner at the Speech Improvement Company in Boston, and she works with entrepreneurs and executives throughout the world. And I want to welcome Laurie.
Great to be here, Bill. Hi, Kyle.
And second, let me introduce Kyle Zamcheck. Kyle is a speech coach and trainer for the Speech Improvement Company, and she's based in Austin, Texas. And like Laurie, Kyle works with individuals all around the world and specializes in helping startup executives and young professionals attain their career success through communication. Welcome, Kyle.
Hi, so nice to be here with you both.
Thank you. It's great to have you, and it's great to have you both. So let me just ask, and we'll open this up. So each of you has helped hundreds of executives and entrepreneurs improve their oral communication skills. You know, as you think about sort of the things that have really resonated and created change and impacted those leaders in very profound ways, what are some of the top tips that you think almost any professional would benefit from? Laurie, why don't you go first?
Sure, these questions come up a lot, so our team has done a lot of thinking. So I would say among the top three, and this might surprise listeners, one is fluency, the ability to speak smoothly so that you're not at a loss for words. So when people judge you, they judge fluent speech without a lot of pauses, or what we call vocalized pauses, which Kyle will talk about more. So that means preparation, not desperation. That's where practice comes in. You will become more fluent. Number two, what we call vocal variety, conveying passion and enthusiasm. Bill and Kyle, there's so many people I've worked with who are passionate, but people can't see your intellect or your character or your soul. They only go by what they see and hear. So vocal variety means in every sentence you say, you want to emphasize at least one word. So I might say, I'm going to give a great pitch. I'm going to give a great pitch. I know this is getting a little bit tiresome, but I'm going to give a great pitch. So practice sounding as enthusiastic as you feel.
That's fantastic. So fluency and vocal variety, those are super. So Kyle, how about yourself? What do you see in terms of the top things that you've seen really impact some of the folks you've worked with?
Yeah, so the top tips for effective communication, Laurie really nails it with talking about vocal variety and wanting to bring these positive parts of our voice out. When we're in that process, when we're practicing, a fundamental part is building awareness. And this means building awareness of all of our habits, our bodies. So our nonverbal, our body language, and our voices are filled with negative habits, habits that are holding us back from being as effective as we could be. So a big area that I work on with a lot of people is eliminating our negative habits. So these habits come, like I said, in the nonverbal area as well as the verbal. When we're speaking about nonverbals, there's going to be two different areas that we focus on. That's gestures that repeat all the time. So you can have a really good gesture. You often see politicians with this with their thumb. You can have a great gesture, but if you're doing it all the time again and again, it's going to lose its value. So we want to eliminate gestures that we're repeating all the time, or we want to use them less. The second one with our nonverbals that we want to focus on is anything that is distracting. So people often have things that they do to help calm themselves down. Maybe they're playing with their jewelry, maybe they're putting their hands together, they're going like this, or touching their neck. These are all distracting. They're taking away from your message. If it isn't purposeful, we don't need to be expressing it with our bodies. So those would be our nonverbal effective communication tips. When we're talking about our verbal, as Laurie mentioned, we have vocalized pauses. Vocalized pauses are when you hear somebody say, these sounds that we make that aren't quite words, they're filler words or connectors. We always like to say, if it's a run-on sentence, if you write it, then it's a run-on sentence when you speak it.
That makes perfect sense. So with these sort of the idea of building awareness with the nonverbal and sort of verbal challenges, what are, and we'll stay with you for the moment, Kyle. What do we need to do to overcome those? What, now that we know the problem, how do we deal with it?
That's a great question. We always like to say it's not about necessarily overcoming, but it's about learning how to control them. Mm-hmm. So it's totally normal to use vocalized pauses. If you use one in every 100 words, that's fine. But if you're using more than 3% of your words as vocalized pauses, then that's going to be very distracting. So we want to learn to control that. So some tips that we have for that is you can begin sentences with real words. We mean intentionalized words. Not, so what I'm thinking, or, yes, well. Those are all different areas that we are just pulling away from the content of our message. So begin our sentences with real intentionalized words. The second tip I have for you is that we can build self-awareness through practice. Whether that's with a coach or a friend, have somebody, maybe when you're practicing with them, raise their hand every time we're using a vocalized pause or doing a distracting gesture or repeating yourself too much. Or you can have them take notes and write it down for the specific words that you were doing it on, so you can build the awareness and learn to control it.
That's fantastic. It makes perfect sense. And Laurie, with fluency and vocal variety, are there some tips in terms of how we perform or improve our performance in those areas?
Sure. One way would be to have a script, or if you have kids in your life, to read a book, because in development, we pay much more attention to the intonation and the rhythm, Bill, than we do to the words. So you could have a baby in your arms and say, "You're driving me crazy," and the baby will be very happy, pleasant rhythm. My clients like to do is take a document, and in this case it could be your pitch, and circle a word in each sentence, and then see if you can deliver the sentence emphasizing that word.
Just so I clarify what you said, because it really makes sense, and I've never heard anybody say this before, but it makes total sense. So if we have children and we read them a story, is the idea that we're, as more than just reading the story, we're going to actually be performing it, and that's maybe what we're learning to do is to perform more of or to animate more of our pitching?
The way I'd say it is letting your passion and enthusiasm show, whether it's to 50-year-old investors or your 5-year-old kid. And again, people can't see your passion. They can't see it inside of you. They have to hear it and see it in your body.
That's fantastic. Well, I'll tell you, both Kyle and Laurie, this has been really, really phenomenal, and we really appreciate it. I'd say to those who are watching, if you're interested in more, if you have questions, please let us know. The next screen will share our contact information, but we do appreciate you tuning in. Thank you both, and thank you all very much.
Thanks, Bill. Bye.
Bye.